The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you're coming in. I think we're going to give it a couple of minutes so more people can join. Hopefully, we'll give them a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, and then we'll start the presentation and the webinar. If you do have any questions during the webinar or before, you can post them in the questions list, and we'll try to answer them during the webinar or at the end. Yes, we're going to. You spend approximately 90 minutes, that's correct. Hopefully. Okay, I see more people coming in, that's nice. I'm prepared and ready to give you the foundation of informational energy and electromagnetism. You cannot hear me? Anybody else who cannot hear me? Can everybody hear me well? You can give the answer in the questions, please. I hear Manuela here, can't hear me, but the audio should be good. That's good, thank you very much. Thank you. Goody, goody. So, I have audio. So just check it, check your speakers. Great, that's fine. I think we'll give it 1 more minute and we're going to start. Okay, so we're going to start. Welcome very much, everyone. I'm very happy to be able to speak to you. I'll move my camera a little bit so you can see better. And I'm going to talk about what is the most important thing for me in both business and science and daily life. And I do this seminar and I talk about informational energy and electromagnetism, which is for me most of the same thing, because I think it's very important to have the foundation understanding of our surrounding, our physical body, our life, and what we know about it, what we can do about it. When you have the foundation, it's easier to understand, among other things, how time over frequency, how time over medical works, and also the new Healy, and any other electromagnetic device. So, you know, some smart people said that the only thing I know is that I know nothing. And if they say that, I'm sure I know nothing. But we know little things. Einstein said we still do not know 1/1000th of 1% what nature has revealed to us. And I think that's right. If we know 1,000th, we know a lot, because the nature in the universe is enormous and full of opportunities we do not know yet. So what do we know? I like to focus on what we know. Well, our science considers that we know 4% of the visual universe, because 96% of the universe they reckon as dark energy and dark matter. It is not something that is proven, but it's the name for all those things out there we can see or measure that is there, but we cannot have a theory about it that is proven and working. So actually, we know something about 4% of the visual universe. And this visual universe, what you see around us, when you see me, what you can feel, is all electromagnetic. It means it has radiation, and I will talk more about it. We also know that 99% of all the molecules in our body are light, are water, water. And that means our structure is mostly water. An interesting thing is that the only thing that can charge water is light. And we learned this from sunlight. Another thing we say is that atoms are 99.999% empty space, and 0.001 is matter. So personally, I think we will struggle to find that 0.001%, because everything we see, when we look at it in small details, as we do in quantum physics, it's energy, it's moving energy. Everything is moving, vibrating energy. This is what we know. We know something about 4% of the universe, and this is what we're going to talk about now. Yes, very smart people said this, like Tesla. He's the reason we can see each other now. He's the reason why we have mobile phones. And he said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Einstein said, everything is energy, that's all there is to it, and so on. He said, concerning matter, we've all been wrong. What we have called matter is energy. These things, I think, is absolutely right. From my studies of trying to understand reality, electromagnetism, quantum physics, all my life, I think they're right. All is energy, but they did not say that all is informational energy, because all energy has information, and we'll talk about that. So I will see if I can follow up on Einstein's suggestion. Everything should be made simple as possible, but not too simple, but not simpler. Okay, so I say all is informational energy. We know about informational fields. We can measure them. We can experience them in timer med and many other devices. We can observe the quantum fields in quantum accelerators, so we know it's there. We know there are energy and particles coming and going all the time in empty space. And we know a lot about electromagnetic fields, which is the radiation we all give out and occurs from if there's a current going through a conductor. So if there's a current going through this pen, electrons flow like it does in your electric grid. There will be a field in 90 degrees in the same frequency, same speed as the frequency inside the wire. This is happening in our body, and every time an electron moves, we make an electromagnetic field. And then we talk about biological biofields, because our bodies, our cells, they also emit energy and light, which is also electromagnetic. And we know for sure that there is no energy that doesn't contain information. So all is informational energy. And when we think about these categories, we say energy, we say information, we talk about soul, we talk about matter, all this. It's all kind of tools to make us comprehend parts of the reality, the whole. But the whole, everything around us is informational energy. Whether it's subtle energy or it's more stronger energy you can feel in the hands directly, it's all energy. So yeah, I say when you see one part and believe it's the answer to all, I call it religion. And maybe it's not the precise term, but I will give you an example. If you go to acupuncture specialists, many of these people will often say, oh, acupuncture is a solution for any problem in your body. If you go to somebody who's specializing in nutrition, they will say nutrition is the solution to everything. I don't think so. I think it's the holistic approach to everything we do, which is the solution for good health and a good life. And therefore, I do not believe in one small piece. We need to understand the big picture, and we use what we understand and can prove is effective for our health. So what is energy? Well, energy is basically the capability to do work. So the energy we often talk about and talk mostly about here is electromagnetic energy. Actually, anybody who moves or anything that moves, they emit electromagnetic waves and they have electric current going in the body. So everything we know physically, as I said, is electromagnetic. But we differ this in different categories, but it's all about the ability to do work. And on the very sub-molecular level and in our cells, it's the electrons, it's the protons, it's the movement of currents which is doing the work, and it's electromagnetic. Therefore, I think this is absolutely fundamental to understand what's going on with us. We also have the more unknown energies we call vacuum-spaced energy, zero-point energy, scalar wave energies, and so forth. And this was proven in an experiment called Kashmir effect, where we were out in space in totally vacuum, where there should be nothing, and our microscopes couldn't observe anything, but there still was energy attracting these two plates. So we know that in empty space, where we say there is nothing, there's also energy. This is quantum energy, but it's still energy, and there is photons, also generating waves in the electromagnetic field. So what is electromagnetism? Well, it is electrons or energy moving in quantas. And this energy we measure in electromagnetics, they have oscillations. And these oscillations, it doesn't go in a straight line, they oscillate, and we call this frequency. Frequency means the number of oscillations per second. And the guy who invented this, Hertz, we keep his name. So we measure all this radiation that comes from us, from the sun, from the apparatus we hold, from earth, from rocks, from any chemical. We measure it in frequency. So the higher the frequency, the shorter the wave, and the more intensive the energy. So for example, if you look at the gamma rays and the X-rays, you know they can penetrate through your body, and we use it to see what's going on in the body. The doctors don't actually say we're looking at your electromagnetic body, because that's what they see. They don't see nothing else. But they forget about the electromagnetics. They just use it and they talk about pictures. But anyway, it's going through us because the energy is very high. And we call that ionizing radiation, and it can harm us very directly. We have the lower energy, like with visual light, which makes you see me now. It's also frequency quite high, but it's non-ionizing, so it's not harmful. And so on, we go down. So the radio wave is very long, and the natural waves of Schumann, which we're going to talk about, going around all the Earth, is a wave that goes all around the Earth. So we have the very long, slow waves and the fast waves. And let's see. Okay, so here you see this overview a bit better. And actually on the bottom here, we have very low frequencies in our body. We synchronize with the frequencies around Earth at about 7.83 hertz. And it's a very long wave. It's called Schumann. And you see up here, before the infrared, before the ultraviolet, you see the visual light. The interesting thing is about visual light that in this spectrum, there is energy also in the infrared and ultraviolet to charge water. So it means when you are in the sun and you drink good water, you charge your body. You give your body energy. So it's very important to be outside, be in touch with nature, have sun, fresh air, and contact with the ground. I will explain you why. So anyway, we're not going into very deep physics, but the understanding of quantum physics, quantum energy. What are we talking about? We're talking about the quanta of energy. These quantas in electromagnetism, when they're outside of the short range, it's all photons. So all natural electromagnetic waves are photons. It's light. So we are made of water and we're feeding on light. We are light beings. And this we have to keep in mind if we're going to do any form of therapy, because if this light doesn't flow, if you cannot charge the body, you cannot live and you will be sick. So anything you see around you is electromagnetic, it's physical, and all this electromagnetic emits light. And some part of the light we see, it's the visual light. The rest is there, we can measure it and use it, but we don't see it directly. Also Einstein said, of course, that E is like mc squared, which means that he discovered a formula that showed that matter and energy can be interchangeable. It's the same thing. So back to this again, I don't think there is any matter. If it's some matter, it's very small and we still haven't proven it. So a quantum of energy, a photon, the sunlight. That's what we're all emitting and this is what we're all receiving. And in this sunlight, there is an enormous amount of information, informational energy. But first I want to mention for you a little bit about the importance of frequency. And it looks very complicated here, but I say no rhythm, no music. And the reason is one thing. We have the circadian rhythm, and it's controlled by the sunlight, mainly through the eyes. And you know, in your cells, you have the small ATPase, you have the small proton pumps making ATP, which is the basic energy molecules of the cell and all of our being, our physical body. When the sunlight goes in to your eyes, it does, with its frequency, tell the body in which speed to do what. It regulates our hormones, it regulates when we should sleep, it regulates our blood pressure, and it even regulates the small chemical processes inside the cell on millisecond level. So it's critical to get enough good sunlight into your eyes every day, because if you don't, your body will be out of balance, you cannot work properly, your hormones will be out of balance, and your cell cannot coordinate, because the guy who is in front of the music, what we call him, I forgot it. Anyway, we call him dirigent in Norwegian. So you have the orchestra and there's a guy standing in front and giving you the pace. Bo, 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 bo. This is the sunlight. That's the frequency of sunlight. So it's giving the pace for the whole body. And you are absolutely depending on this pace. So this is an example that sunlight contains information and it contains energy. And it's extremely important for you. So you see, life is a symphony of rhythm, oscillations, vibrations, and frequency. So everything going in rhythm. And there is a reason why we enjoy music so much. Some of us has this feeling if we hear a special kind of music, we have to start moving. It's natural for us because everything in our body goes in rhythm. The menstrual cycle, the cycle through the day, the cycle of the growth of the fetus, of the cells, and the cycle of the growth of the organs, the cycle of Earth, the sun, the universe, all these cycles. So if you find the right frequencies for the right cycle, you can really help optimize your connectedness to everything. So basically, a rhythm is a frequency. Oscillation is a frequency. So it's all frequency. So we have the talk about resonance. Many people understand, many people don't. And there's many levels of resonance. But basically, it's easy to understand. If you have a tuning fork, you have two tuning forks, and you hit one, and it will start to make a tone. Boom. If you hold the other tuning fork without hitting it, just holding it, and you can hear, it will also start to sing the same tone, because they have same properties, same size, and they resonate to the same frequency. So does this resonate to you? It means, from my end, of course, that does this make sense to you? So we have resonance on many levels. And all our cells, all our molecules in the body, they resonate to different frequency. So they send and receive frequency, and they start to resonate with different frequency. So if you send a frequency that is in resonance with your own cells, or your own chemicals, or your own particles, if you like, it will start to vibrate stronger, and energy and information is transferred. So that's why if I say something which resonates to your thinking, you are able to receive my message and use it, because that's a mental resonance. But still, it's a resonance. We have this in the quantum level, and we have this every level. So resonance is very important, and it's one of the let's say, key factors of electromagnetic waves. We need to find what we resonate to, and hopefully the correct waves which resonate to the correct parts of our body, our cells, the organs, to enforce our energy. Just a little bit. Just going to open the window for some fresh air. Well, anyway, I told you about the wave that goes around the Earth. This is made from lightning, and it's very famous from the inventor who saw it first time, Schumann, and it's called Schumann resonance. So this all this lightning is bombarding Earth, and there are waves coming out, and all this go together in a slow wave that has the basic frequency of 7.83 hertz, which is not that important, but that's the basic frequency. And then they have so-called harmonics, which is a half and a fourth and a quarter of this, which also emits the same information. We discovered, and this is a scientific fact, there is no discussion, or there should be no discussion, because then you have not read the science, that we are coupled with the resonant waves around Earth. So it means that these waves, they influence our hormone production, just like the sunlight, help adjust the clock in the body and the hormone system, among other things. And it can also transfer other types of information to us, which I will show you in a minute. So here you hear the Schumann resonance, and you see that in brain waves, they also have frequency, of course, and in alpha brain waves, they are quite close to Schumann resonance. So that means when these two start to resonate with each other, we have so-called brainwave entrainment. It means that your brain is being synchronized from Schumann resonance. And the information which is in the wave, I'll explain a little bit later, is transferred to you. So that means when astronauts go out in space, they bring a Schumann resonator. The Russians discovered it first, and the Americans, and now they always do it in space travel. Because if you go away from Earth, you lose your contact with the Schumann resonance, and you don't have the proper sunlight, you don't have the contact with Earth, so your bodies don't know what to do, don't know when to sleep, don't know when to produce, etc. And you'll become ill. So therefore they bring along Schumann resonance. That's how important this electromagnetic wave is. So when we look at this picture, you can see the sun is bursting out a lot of energy. And this energy has a lot of frequency and a lot of information. And we know this comes into the Earth's field, which has a magnetic pole, so it's a protective field, taking away some of it. But still, there's a lot of the information going through. And this information is also modulating the Schumann resonance. Modulation is the same thing that happens when you listen to the radio signal. If you listen to FM 1.29 megahertz, you don't listen to 1.29 megahertz, you listen to the voice and music in the wave. That's called modulation. Same thing happens with Schumann resonance, same thing happens with us. So it's informational energy transfer. And if there is a very high sunspot activity, this modulation is changed. And that has been proven that there is more cardiac attacks, more panic attacks, more dramatic changes in the world when the sun has high activity periods, because it also goes in cycles, of course. Actually, a very brilliant researcher, Krzyzewski, found that 80% of the most significant events occurred in the world during the 5 years of maximum sunspot activity. And this was a measurement he was doing over 400 years. So they compared, because we know from astronomy, when there was high and low activity and what happened in the world. And that he called index of mass human excitability. So it means people were more excited and did start wars, etc. And this tendency was 80%. So for all of you who think you're not connected to the universe, think about this fact. This is a fact. We are connected, and the sun influences us, and of course the moon and any other object that emits waves, and any other person who emits waves, or any other plant or substance. So we all send out and receive waves. So we are totally connected, and every time there is resonance, we can sing in the same tune, and information is transferred. This is the basis for our living. So I want to show you something I think is real cool, because it will give you an idea and an understanding of what vibrations can do to matter. Because how is matter, so-called physical body, how is all things created? We don't have a good answer to this. We go to religion to answer it, or we have some very advanced quantum physical theory. But I'm quite sure there is a vibration and informational energy transfer. And they show it very nicely in a technique called cymatics, where they use some substance. It can be sand or water. And when you vibrate different sounds, musical sounds, which is also pressure waves, but when you hear it, it's electromagnetic. And of course, it moves electrons, so it doesn't matter. The information is there. It actually forms shapes. And this I'm going to show you right now. I'll take away my video for a second, I think. Okay, let me see. So have a look. Yes, so you can see that the higher the frequency, the more complex the patterns. And many of you probably recognized forms and shapes you've seen in nature. And if you do it in water, it's the same technique. They did a frequency, I don't remember exact frequency, but if you look to the right, that's the frequency of the surface of the water, and to the left is a many million-year-old small animal called trilobites. So the information of all forms in nature, as we know, they are stored in vibrations, in frequency. I think it's pretty amazing, don't you? So the information around us, the informational energy around us, it moves in spirals. And this goes for the universe, it goes for the galaxies. And let's see more about how the planets move in spirals. Sorry. Yeah, you get the picture. You saw the pictures. So you can see that all the large structures in nature, from the universe, from the galaxies, from the stars, to the clouds, it all rotates. And even the quantum particles and the light rotates. And if you think about it, you have more spirals in your life. And your heart emits along a strong field. And there's a current going up and down your spine. And this moves like this. And the energy couples down like in spirals. And it produces a torus field. It's our body. Earth has the same thing. And we have the same thing. And the particles inside us have the same thing. And as you see, this energy is visualized here, is driven much by the heart field, which is a very strong field. And it's generating a torus, and the energy is moving like this. So if we can reinforce this and support this energy flow, the information and energy will flow well, and the body will be healthy. So if you have a disturbance in this field, if you have a disturbance in the flow, that's a problem. And if we look at the disturbance in your DNA, which is a double helix spiral, so the DNA also generates this field and this flow, then it can be repaired from an electromagnetic perspective, because DNA is a receiver and sender of electromagnetic informational energy. More correct, informational energy. Let's stick to this. Okay, so I just had this picture here, and this is just an illustration, and it shows that we have centers in the body where energy are focused, and there are small spirals around the body. And this they knew in Chinese medicine and India for a long time ago, but we can measure it today with apparatus. I have an apparatus, I can measure it and show it. And when you are close to another person, your field starts to connect. And by intuition, you know everything about this person, how they feel, how they are, how is their state. But we don't always listen, because we think it's something for very spiritual people, or you have to be a seer or some fancy word. But the reality is that when you are close to somebody, just ask yourself, how are they? How do you feel? How are you? Because you know. Because your system is already resonating. Your brain uses a couple of milliseconds to start resonating to the brain of the person beside you. So you know everything about these people. And they know everything about you. Okay, I'm going to touch this, not for a very long time, but I think it's important to understand. We're talking about Wi-Fi, we talk about EMF, which is all electromagnetic, and there are electromagnetic waves that are not made for medical purposes, not made to support your body, but it's made to transmit information, and no matter the consequences for us. And I say it's a non-discriminating resonance, because these waves, they come in, and they resonate with our particles, and they transmit information to us, not just through your mobile phone, but they transmit to you, to your body, to your cells, to the water in your body. And now, with a higher frequency like 5G, these waves are even shorter and has more energy and will penetrate deeper into your body, so you can start talking directly to the small molecules inside your cell. This is one problem with 5G. And the other thing to mention is that what we call millimeter wave technology was developed in Russia for 20, 30 years ago, and they use it to in medicine for millions and millions of people. I know last time I stopped checking, it was like 20 million people had regular treatments with this millimeter wave technology. And actually millimeter wave technology is in the higher range of the 5G spectrum, of the electromagnetic spectrum. And this apparatus, I could have showed you one, I have one. This apparatus, they emit 100 times less radiation than a mobile phone. And it still has medical effect that can change a lot of things in your body in a positive way. So think about it when you're going to swim in a pool of stupid, non-discriminating waves, even in the very high spectrum, surrounding you all the time. This is a lot of noise for your body. It's not good for your body. And this is something we need to try to protect us from as best as possible. And because it's not good. Everybody's saying that, a lot of people saying that 5G is horrible, terrible, and so on. Yes, it's not good, but it's not good like it is. It's not good in any city right now. Any big city is totally polluted with Wi-Fi, with mobile phones, with 3G, 4G, all this stuff. And the total is giving a lot of health effects. Well, sorry to come with some bad news, but maybe I shouldn't say it, but the fact is that the big companies, they have, while Corona was at the highest, the American government approved rollout of 5G and 5G satellites without any testing on health effects. Zero testing, zero security. We just do it. It's technically very cool. So they want to place up to 50,000 satellites around the Earth, and it's going to stream Wi-Fi, 5G, 6G, whatever, to every quadrant inch of the Earth. So it means that if you're not already bombarded by EMF, you will be. And there are frequencies and they have information. So personally, I'm lucky enough to live in this house, so I can shield the roof, because I don't want to be bombarded from all this incorrect information and energy throughout 24 hours per day. I only have a cable in my house. Okay, so enough about the bad news, but you can do something about it. And the first thing, stay in touch with nature. Yeah, and we talk about standard, how much is good and how much is not good. We're not going into details into this. There is documentation that this EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, man-made like this, can damage you in many ways. And it's proven now there is no doubt, it will increase the risk of cancer. So we need to use the good frequencies and protect us from the bad. The Russians, they are very skilled on electromagnetic frequency, so they know. So in Russian schools, there is no Wi-Fi, no wireless anymore. You cannot use a smartphone for education. And they recommend you to read books. And they recommend against mobile networks, use cable network. These are the people who used GSM mobile radiation as a weapon against the US embassy in Moscow in 1968. So they know about the effects. We should learn from them. Okay, so radiation, electromagnetic. What is electromagnetic when you measure the energy? Well, we can measure it in volt from the guy called Volta. And here you see a battery, and the battery basically is isolated in the middle, and there is a plus and a minus. The minus, it has abundance of electrons. It has a charge, and it wants to mate to the plus. Plus and minus attracts. And the more attraction, the higher the voltage. And this is how we measure the potential energy of electric currents, electric charge. In this case, the battery. We have also electric potential in our cells. So if you take an electrode on inside and outside of the cell membrane and measure, you will see that there is an electric potential. We can measure it in volts. And this is related to, among other things, what we call ions. Ions can be minerals dissolved in water, so not natrium chloride, salt is divided in potassium and natrium, or kalium as we say in Norwegian. And if you have more plus and minus on the inside, outside of the cell membrane, this will make a potential. And this potential has energy. This has energy to exchange nutrition, take out pollutants, take in oxygen, and to drive your metabolism, to drive your ATP production. So without no power in your mobile phone, you can't call anywhere and it doesn't work. This is the same with your cells. So this is the most important health indicator of all. And most doctors are not aware of it. And this is one reason I talk about it, because Everybody needs to understand that if you don't have the correct voltage, there is no energy to do work. You cannot live without voltage. That is why when they measure your electric field from the heart, ECG or EEG from the brain, the electric waves from the brain, and they find no waves, no electric current, they say you're dead. And that's correct, because the body is dead when there's no electromagnetic waves anymore. Actually, they don't stop as we think right after the heart stops. It takes more than a day, but that's another story. Let's talk more about voltage. So it's been proven and proven again that if you have the correct voltage in the cell, we say at average it's a minus 70 millivolts. Your cell works well. It can transport oxygen in and out, can transport nutrients, there's a mineral balance, there must be water. Your pH, which is the same as electric potential in water, potential hydrogen is the pH. So it's a measurement of electric properties of the water. It's also relevant. So since your 99% molecules are water, inside, outside the cells, if this water has the correct charge, your cell has the correct charge. So therefore, it's important to have the correct pH. Doesn't mean you should eat a lot of alkaline things and drink alkaline water. This is not the way to do it, but that's another story. Anyway, so people who start to get lower voltage in cellular level, organ level, or the whole body, they will start to have a problem. Normally, the first sign is you have pain. And if you cannot correct the voltage, the body cannot produce it because it's blocked. This I'm going to teach you about in the next webinar. The pain will maybe become an inflammation. The inflammation can become an infection. Infection can become fungus. And if the voltage is low enough, it's a signal for the body to divide and rebuild, make new cells. And if the voltage is low all the time, these cells cannot produce normal ATP from oxygen. So they will start to ferment and do it in an environment with sugar and little oxygen. And those cells that are fermenting, we call them cancer. So when your body or your body cells have too low voltage, too little energy to do work over a long time, the normal metabolism cannot happen. The oxygen-related metabolism cannot happen. So to survive, these cells, they convert to another system, which is the same system when we make wine, or ferment something, we kind of burn sugar with little oxygen. And if you see on the right side of this picture, you see normal cell voltage. So you see some neurons has a high voltage, and you go down to the right side, you say liver, that's a little bit, that's below 14 millivolts. Why does the liver have a low voltage? Nobody told me, so take it for my word for it. I think it's very simple, because the liver takes out all the, or a lot of the toxins in the body move through the liver. The toxins, they normally are oxidants, and they are electron stealers. So they mean they have a plus charge. They have a plus charge, and they steal minus. That means they steal voltage to make complete molecules. So that's happening in the liver all the time. So I believe if we have a person who were totally clean, which is not possible, but let's say in utopia, and we live in a totally clean world, we only drink clean food, air, water, everything, we're never stressed. And the liver is super happy because there is very little toxins to deal with in the body. I'm sure the potential of the liver cells also would go up. But never mind, that's a theory. The rest is not a theory. And I will show you. If you look on the right side again, in the green square, you see the embryos. So it means when you make children and the cells divide, the body gives the cells a signal. It lowers the voltage. Remember, informational energy. It lowers the voltage, and it facilitates the chemicals and so on, so we can divide, and we build healthy cells. When this divide has gone on for a while, the body says, okay, you need to become a thyroid cell, and then it can increase the voltage to 55 millivolts. and that's also a regulator to help thyroid cells to stay a thyroid cell and make the environment necessary for the thyroid cells to operate well, the pH. On the other side, we see the not so good part. And you can see in the yellow square, you see minus 10 millivolt, 10, minus 20 millivolt, and you see tumors, cancers. What happened? Well, of some reason, and this is your task as a therapist to find out why is the voltage low. Of some reason, the voltage became low. Can it be toxins? Can it be too little water, too little sunlight, whatever? Many reasons, traumas. The voltage became low and stayed low for a long time. Then they cannot produce energy in a normal way using the oxygen-related ATP production, and it converts to fermentation, and there you have cancer. So there can be no cancer if the voltage is correct, and if you can correct the voltage for cancer cells, they will stop being cancer cells and revert back to normal cells. And this is a fact. Okay. So let me see, I'm not sure how much time I spent, I cannot see it, but I will do my best to summarize quickly. Another thing is that all our emotions are stored in the body. So it's old, not so old, a couple hundred years old theory that everything goes up in. We have the psychic and the emotions in the brain, and then we have the robot down here. This is, excuse me, bullshit. And nobody believed it before, and nobody will believe it in the future. Of course, your emotions are stored like electrical patterns and electrical waves in the body, all over your body. And if you feel different, you change. The body change, the energy in your body change, and it influences everything. And we experience this also as heat. So you can see we measured with a type of heat camera. We can see that different emotions give different frequency and therefore different type of light. And it looks very good to be happy, right? Light up like a Christmas tree, like they say in Norway. Okay, so there was another smart doctor called Dr. Jerry Tennant. I really recommend his book, Healing is Voltage. Dr. Jerry Tennant, Healing is Voltage. Very important and very good book, and a very interesting history from Dr. Jerry Tennant. Anyway, he compared the chakra system from India, the meridian system from China, the nerval system from conventional medicine, the fascia connection points, and all the informational channels in the body. And he discovered that what he called bioterminals. So you can access these points through different parts of the spine. In front here, for example, you have the long terminal in the back, and in the front you have the large intestine. And this is very interesting because I've seen many times. So if you have a long terminal problem, you often have a problem with the large intestines, etc. And anyway, he found out that these emotions, they are often stored in these body systems, which has the terminals in these places. So for example, if you have a lot of fear and anxiety, or Angst, as they say in German, it influences your kidneys and your bladder and your lower back. So this is another thing. You never have a health problem on one level. You always have it on all levels. Even if it maybe came from one level, it will spread and influence all of you. So if you have a lower back problem, you need to treat the kidneys, not just the lower back, and vice versa. If you have a problem with the bladder, the prostate, you need to treat the kidneys. And if you have a problem with the bladder and prostate and kidneys, or whatever is connected to the kidneys, you have a problem with anxiety and stress, even if you don't know it. And this way, we know if a person has a problem with the specific organ system, which is connected to the others, of course, we know that most likely they have problems with these types of emotions. And I have tested this for the last 12 years, and it's correct. I promise you. It's correct. Most of you, or many of you, know this already. But maybe you didn't know that it's stored like electromagnetic waves, and we can find these patterns. So here are the terminals, and you see the front terminal, the orange below, very close to where the Indians find the sacral chakra, is connected to the back, and up in the middle of the kidneys. And yeah, so it's also possible to place electrodes when you treat. If you have the terminal here in the middle, on the side, a little bit triangular, you can place the electrodes to treat this whole system directly with current. You can, of course, use it in the hand and the feet and so on, but you can also use it directly in the system to charge the system if the voltage is low. So Einstein again said, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. And yeah, I just took it because I liked it. But moving in electromagnetic wave is moving on quantas of energies, of electrons. So when you have currents moving around your body, you are alive. And there is two important takeaways from today. And we can prove it. Nobody's ever been able to tell me this was incorrect, and I don't think they will either. And that is, if you have the electric potential, the energy, and the balance of the energy in the body, this provides the needed energy and information to build and regenerate cells. We make many thousand cells per second, blood cells, and we make small reactions all the time. And if you have the voltage and the information and the balance of the whole, you can do this all the time. And if you make new cells and repair damaged cells, you're healthy. It's too simple, but sorry, it's true. Of course, there's a lot of influencers, but this is the basic. Everybody needs to know it. Now you do. Takeaway number 2. So the correct voltage is the premises for normal exchange of information in the cell, the cellular communication. So as you many knows that the cell has a cell membrane and it vibrates. And the millimeter wave technology, by the way, from Russia, influences the cell membrane and the ability to help them talk to the neighbors. So by increasing the resonance of the cell membrane and the water in the body, you increase the ability for the cells to communicate, to spread the message, to spread their information, which is carried on informational energy. So when you have enough power in your cell phone, you can call somebody, and if the power is too low, it's too little power to send a signal or receive a signal, and the cells are the same. So this is critical for our health. Well, I'm not going to talk long about water, and please make notes and start to print your questions if you have any. Well, we think water is clean, especially in Norway. Everybody say we have such clean water, but the fact is that there's a lot of pollutants in the water, also chemical, like glyphosate or Roundup, which comes with the rain and it's not filtered away in the public water systems. But there's also a lot of pollution from bad energy, bad information, and the water remembers. And this is well proven. And the water that comes out of the tap in the normal city, or even in Norway where I live, where we have supposedly clean water, the water has a positive charge. So it means the water comes out and needs to be charged to be used in the body. So therefore, of course, if we have clean water with charge and nice structure, which includes moving through spirals as in nature. As you remember, everything in nature moves in spirals, and so also water. So when you move the water through straight pipes, you destroy the energy. So therefore you need to move it through a sort of spiraling structuring system and add energy. This can be done with hydrogen and several ways, but clean energy structure. And then this water is what is inside your cells. It's called exclusion zone water, structured water like a gel. So if you can drink water, which is close to what your body needs to make proper cell water, you have a better chance of being healthy. Remember, 99% of the molecules in your body are water. Okay, so what are other ways you can charge yourself? Okay, if you walk outside barefoot, you are in contact with Earth. Earth, and many heard about earthing, has electric potential because of the lightning going into the ground, and because it's a big electromagnetic system, big magnet. And this charge potential has most places about 200 millivolts. when you touch the ground, this charge starts to flow into your body and charge your body and your water. Also, the information going with the waves from Earth is going into the body, and your DNA is made this way. We're always in touch with the ground, always outside. Also, when you're close to water, moving water, there is negative ions in the air. And you can breathe negative ions. If you breathe toxic air, circulated, ventilated air like in airplanes, they are positive and stealing energy. So it's quite simple, actually. So you can see in the offices, you often have a lot of stealers, and offices where you get tired is where there are a lot of positive ions. And you can install small generators like this one. I have this small one here. This brush has some 1,000 volts, and it comes 40 million negative ions out of this all the time. Cleans the air and helps me charge when I cannot have the window open like I do right now. Let's see. Yeah, some of you experience that they have pains or get tired when it's low pressure and rain. And that's because of the negative ions are going up in the air, and the positive ions are pressed down, low pressure. And then you have to neutralize this positive ion with your charge, your negative ions, negative molecules, electrons. And some people feel they get tired. I get tired from it, I sleep bad, and I always know when it's a bad weather before I look out the window. So I prefer sunny days. Okay, so in hospitals, they do a lot of electromagnetic measurements. They measure with the X-ray, they can measure the heart rate, they can use the MRI, they can check your brain waves, but they don't think about what they do. Because what are they doing? They're measuring your resonance, they're measuring your electromagnetic waves, and then when they're finished measuring electromagnetic, I would call the electric guy to help me, but they don't do that. So what do they do when they discover there is something electromagnetic wrong? Let's say they find a shadow in the breast or in the lung, and they suspect, they say that's a tumor. But what is it? It's cells who have incorrect or different voltage. That's why they look different on the X-ray. So it's different resonance from different cells with different electric properties. So let's compare this with the lights. The lights are out. What do we do when the lights are out? What do you do when the lights are out? You change the light, you change the fuse, or you check the wire. But what we do in the hospital? We don't check the wire, we don't check the electric properties of the body. We take a pill and we put it in the outlet. But the pill doesn't change the electric properties of the system. The pill won't turn on the lights. So that's why it doesn't work very well. But we have the good news. We have ways of helping us increasing our energy, balancing our energy, improving the electron flow and charging the battery, and helping us synchronize with the waves of the environment. And there we have systems like time waver frequency, we have the PEM, we have timer med, and now it's the Healy. That's a good news. We don't have to do all ourselves. We can use efficient apparatus to do it. You also see there's a woman sitting in a red light. This red light has many wavelengths, but parts of them are capable of directly charging the water in the body. So this is one of the reasons why it's effective. Well, I'm getting close to the end. I'm not going to talk in details about the program I made for timer frequency, timer home, and healing, which is called Deep Cycle. That will be for another lecture. I can only mention for you who already know it that I'm working on Deep Cycle 2. There's a lot of interesting things with ultra weak currents and silver electrodes, and I will keep you posted. So if any of you have questions, you're welcome. So please go ahead. You can type it in the questions, and I'll try to answer it. Okay, there is questions here, but I have to make the screen much larger because I don't see them. That's okay, let me see. Okay, there we are. Goody, goody. Justin, cannot hear you. Can't hear you. Okay, yes, yes, yes. Will this be recorded? Yes, it's recorded. How do people who cannot see function without intake of sunlight? Well, you don't have to see it because the light goes in anyway and goes through the skin and goes through your eyes even if you're blind. So yes, stay in the sun. Name of the ion generator. Well, it's well researched. There are others, but I like this one for small rooms. It's called Ionex, I-O-N-E-X. It's made in Slovakia. It's a good one. It's been on the market long, and the developer also has done a lot of research on asthma and things. So it's a good one. In my company in Norway, we sell it. We could ship it to somewhere in Europe if you're interested, but this is not a sales exhibition, but I just mentioned it. There are, of course, others, but I like the ones. It's silent and it doesn't generate any pollution or noise or ozone, which is not too healthy to breathe too much. Yes, that was Ionex. Yeah, let me see. In terms of time-wear protocols, can you please clarify the difference between information field and quantum field? Oh, very good question. Yeah, so I'll repeat the question. In terms of time-wear protocols, please can you clarify the difference between the information field and the quantum field? For me personal, making categories is a way of limiting ourselves and saying we don't understand. It's a way of trying to understand what we don't understand. So the best overall expression for me is informational energy. Because from my experience, my research, and I had spent the last 10 years reading tons of stuff, and I've been treating a lot of clients, and I've developed these programs, as you know. So I think it's fairly correct what I say, and that is in the so-called quantum field, there is informational exchange. When people say there's an informational field and say it's not physical, and there's a quantum field that is physical or an energy field that is physical, I think they're wrong. Because I think any information cannot be transported without some sort of energy. So for me, it's all informational energy. I don't know if that answered your question well, but there is really informational field is present in a quantum field, I'm sure. But quantum field, well, that's a theory about what we don't understand. But the word information we understand pretty well, and energy we understand pretty well, and everything has information and energy. Also the quantum field. So it's all connected, it's all one. It's not small pieces that exist separately from each other. No, it's all connected in the big informational energy field. Okay, so can I explain the information field simpler so that we can explain to regular people also what is the difference between the global informational field and personal informational field? Wow, these are so good questions. And as I said at the beginning, very smart people, they don't know the answer to this. But I'll try anyway, from what we know, okay? So first of all, what is the difference between the personal field and the global informational field? Well, basically there is no difference because your personal field is global and the global field is a part of you. So you are a part of the global field, but in this global field, it's like in a big orchestra or in a choir, there are many singers. You are one of the singers. You are one of the stars in our galaxy. Okay? So maybe that's an answer. How is information carried on energy? Okay, so maybe you came in late, or maybe I didn't explain it too well. But I will explain about one way information is carried in energy. All the energy we see around us, about 4% of the universe, which we have science for and understand, we can call electromagnetic. And those electromagnetic waves, they oscillate in different frequency, in different speeds. The frequency itself is information. So for our body, the 10 hertz is alpha waves in the brain. So it's information, and the body knows when we're alpha waves, we synchronize and do things in certain speed. It's a rhythm, it's the music of the brain. So the frequency itself is information. Then you have the next level, even if it's in a quantum level, and it's not the radio wave, but let's take this example with the radio wave. When you listen to the radio, and we say FM 1.29 megahertz, million hertz per second, we talk about the signal. But you don't listen to the signal. You listen to the voice, my voice, like now, or music. And this is modulated into the wave. And I can attempt to make a drawing. I'm a terrible drawer, but I can do it anyway. So let's say this is a 1.2 megahertz radio wave. We send it and receive it. And then we put the voice in the music, modulated in, modulation. And then you see maybe there are some small things occurring in the wave, that's the modulation. So the information is carried in the wave. Okay. How is information carried on energy waves? Has science seen it? Yes, we are talking now. So information is carried on electromagnetic waves to you from me. So we haven't only seen it, we do it all the time. That's the radio, that's the mobile. So it's a fact. It's a fact that science has seen sunlight influencing us, these electromagnetic waves, the information influencing us, etc., as I just talked. Is there any information on improvements in voltage over time using programs on Healy over time? Any guidance on time of usage? Well, this has to be, sorry for this, this has to be for a more practical seminar. So I can say something about, repeat the question. Is there any information on improvements of voltage over time using programs on Healy or time over? Any guidance of time of usage? So yes, microcurrents, very weak currents, when they move through the body in specific frequencies, they increase ATP production. So this is one example. The guidance for each program I cannot start with here because I'm probably way over time already. Let me just check. Yeah, we have 15 minutes. That's good. What was I going to say? Yeah, the next webinar is going to be more practical, how we evaluate the physical evaluation of clients in our clinic. And probably down the line, there will be a more practical how to treat different things using the timer apparatus and so on. With energy treatments, is it true that we should work from outwards, starting with energy fields, then chakras and meridians? I don't want to be the judge of other people's, how do you say, religion. But I would rather advise you to read it's called Hering's Cure of Law. Hering's Law of Cure. Hering's Law of Cure. Because what he says, it's much closer to what I feel is correct. Hering's Cure of Law. Law of Cure. Sorry. Anyway, he says things like this. Healing goes from above to below. So you cannot heal the body without healing what's going on in your mind. Healing always goes from the inside to the outside. So if you have edema, you need to fix your intestine or lungs. They are, by the way, connected. Healing goes from the more important organ to the less important organ. Healing often recurs in reversed order. So these are the 5 laws. You should read them. By saying that healing often goes in reversed order, he means that, for example, people come with shoulder pain, and you start treating them with a time mover and maybe other apparatus. In my clinic, we use several different apparatus to support integrated medical approach. Food and drinks and supplements and so on. But we use also always time mover frequency as a part of the treatment. And after some time they say, oh, interesting, the pain in the shoulder is gone, but now I have a pain in the neck, and they are disappointed. And I say, well, that's very good, because you are in the healing process and it's changing. And then after some time, maybe they come and say, oh, the pain in the neck is gone. And I say, wow, that's great, but now I have a pain in the lower back. And I had this always when I was a child. And it's very interesting because the healing occurs in reverse order. So it starts with the healing with the shoulder, the neck, and finally we get back to the original source of the pain, in this case, the lower back. So that's a very good thing. So it was a long answer to your question about from outward to inward, but I would say rather from inward to outward. At least I don't feel, it doesn't resonate to me. Any other questions? Okay. I don't think there are more questions for me today, and I think I did pretty well on time. So, anyone wants the last question? In my opinion, is scalar waves better? Better than what? You mean primary frequency or so, I guess? So, is scalar waves better? Scalar waves are a sort of informational waves. And so the short answer is no. because information influences, and scalar wave, depending on who made it and if it's a real wave and not a fake, can have powerful effects, informational effects, just as other informational energy devices. But doing small microcurrents through the body with different frequencies, very well documented, and we have a long clinical experience with it. It works very good. Almost everybody feels more balanced, almost everybody have less pain, and almost everybody have some sort of improvement from small to very big to completely, if you treat them properly with timer frequency and so on. And if you see in the Healy groups with a small device they made now, there are tons of people posting on Facebook telling that, oh, we got the device and started treating, and the first I had a detox reaction, I didn't feel anything, or I feel terrible, but now I feel better and the pain is gone and my father is quicker and so on. So it works. So my opinion is you should always do the frequency, the physical electromagnetic frequency, but in the microcurrent level. And there will be new devices. I'm participating in development of new types of devices, completely new medical devices, but timer frequency, it works well. I would do that before scalar waves if I had a choice. If I could do both and the scalar waves were proper, I would combine, integrate it. Okay, so one last one. Hey Jan, please talk to us about iodine and the relationships to increase health. Well, and that's from Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Lisa Golda. Well, anyway, you know, Lisa, if you saw the presentation from the start, you might remember that I said that the voltage of the cell is critical for any function in the body. So if there is no voltage, and that means the ATP production is low, because if the ATP production is high, there is voltage. And that means everything else is also correct. And the ATP, the energy molecule of the cell, depends on thyroid hormone T3, and a little bit T4, but T3. You cannot produce T3 without iodine. So you need other substance like selenium and magnesium and so on to produce thyroid hormones, but iodine is the most important. And secondly, iodine for our energy is important because it protects our mucous membranes and the stomach and the lungs. And I heard a story here just recently, because we know about iodine for a long time, that iodine is the first level of defense in your immune system, and the first level of defense in all your soft membranes. And it's important for your energy production, and it's critical to have enough, and most people don't. And this short story was that there were people who, by the way, were vegetarians. So I have nothing against vegetarians, but it's difficult to have a proper nutrition with vegetarian foods. But they were working with health, and they knew about iodine. They even had the Lugos iodine solution. It's a traditional good one, strong one, liquid, in the cupboard. And they both got pneumonia, and they got real sick. And they were afraid they had to go to the hospital, because they knew, if I go to the hospital, I'm going to get penicillin and all this treatment. I don't want it. So they went into the cupboard, they got the iodine bottle, and they took two big, we call it full tubes, but it's not correct name. Sorry for the English. Anyway, they took a solid dose, both of them. And after about 2 hours, the fever started going down, the lungs started to clear up, because it also can dissolve mucus plague. Okay, quick question. Deep cycle needs to do in sequence. Well, when people ask me this for the protocol for deep cycle, I want to say that follow your intuition, and that you don't have to follow it in sequence, because we are in different parts of our life. If I'm in a part where I'm very stressed, I need to calm down, pure calm, before I maybe can do a proper detox cycle and make my kidneys strong. But many people need to fix the kidneys because of stress and toxins, so we start with kidney oil. But for the newcomers, use the first, second, and third program to introduce your body to frequency, see that you can tolerate it. Then, if you have no idea what to do, start with kidney oil. If you have, trust yourself, ask yourself, what do I need? Do I need to be more calm now? Do I need to clean up? Do I have pain? Use free flow. Do I have a hard neck problem? Use free flow. Anyway, there's a good description of the cycles. Okay, I think that was the last one, and thank you, everybody. Thank you. I wish you well. I hope I'll see you in the next seminar. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. See you. Send to all. Bye-bye.